for bringing us all together, and Brajarani for organizing everything. And I'd like to offer my great thanks to my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, without whom I would have no idea what to speak about this morning, and or the meaning of life, like how to move towards unconditional love, divine love. So he explained one time that it's not so much that a spiritual seeker wants to ask God to come to them, to see God, but rather to act in such a way that God will want to see us, right? So in the culture of Bhakti Yoga, we're very interested in making our heart such a nice place that God will want to come and stay there. So we're going to explore that a little bit more today. So, when practicing yoga asanas, we move our bodies in such a way that we kind of explore and find places where there's some resistance. And so sometimes I'll tell yoga students, we're an odd group because normal people don't go looking for pain or inconvenience or resistance in their lives. But yogis do. We're like searching for something where a place where there's some kind of resistance. So in Bhakti Yoga, we especially pay attention to any place in our consciousness where there is less than pure love, where there's a resistance to pure love. And so we try to notice any not so nice things that we might find popping up. And they're there because we're in the material world, in this atmosphere. It's kind of just saturated with so many influences that it puts us in a position of having an opportunity to clean out any dirty things in the heart. So like, greed, anger, envy, these kinds of things we may not want to look at so much, but that is the mission of the spiritual warrior. So we're not battling enemies outside ourselves, but we're really paying attention, looking within to try to see how we can cleanse our own hearts so that God will want to be close to us. So, when something comes up, when we notice that there might be some kind of feeling like envy or any kind of less than loving thought that comes up, often there's some kind of lack of self-contentment. There's some kind of lack of empathy for other people. There's frustration about the way we want things to be and the way we want things to happen, things that we want. So there is a very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna says, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, craving develops. From that kind of craving, we can become frustrated and anger arises. From anger, complete delusion can arise. And from that, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. When intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material pool. So that material pool, that could mean that, I lose discernment, the ability to remember that who I am, a spiritual being. If I am a spiritual being, my happiness is coming from spiritual fulfillment, not from possessing something outside myself. So our happiness is very precarious if it's based on the actions of another person or what's available, to me outside myself. And so we're hoping to really strengthen our skills at finding contentment within ourselves, right? So, so let's look a little more at that progression. That when I suffer from envy, if I notice that kind of yucky feeling of envy, there's something that I want, either a thing or like a quality in another person, that my mind starts to dwell on it. My mind becomes addicted to it, or I'm brooding or hankering, and I intensely desire it. If I don't get that thing, then I feel frustration. I may become angry, and maybe not feel so good about another person that has it. So in Wikipedia, envy is defined as an emotion that occurs when a person lacks another's superior quality, achievement, or possession, and either desires it or wishes that the other person lacked it. And Aristotle defines envy as a pain at the sight of another's good fortune. Yikes. Stirred by those who have what we ought to have, what we feel like we ought to have. So I was thinking how I've heard that, fashion models who walk down a catwalk, I heard that they were advised to maintain a facial expression of disdain for the people who are watching them, so that it stirs up this feeling of, that they're superior and that you want something that they have. And so that is, that's a very uncomfortable feeling. And it's easy to get accustomed to that feeling. It's a kind of bitterness that that can, kind of glom onto our mind or our consciousness, or be like something underlaying that pops its, rears its ugly head from time to time. And it's not unusual to have these kinds of feelings. It's so common that one time Srila Prabhupada said that in the material world, our disease is enviousness. The spiritual world means no envy. So I'm envious of you, you're envious of me. It's a society of enviousness. And he suggested that we could actually judge our spiritual advancement on how free we're becoming from envy. And that in pure spiritual consciousness, envy is conspicuous by its absence. So I've had the feeling sometimes, if I had the good fortune of being around a very spiritually advanced person, that it's, you know, a little bit arresting or almost shocking sometimes to experience a person with that kind of absence of any tinge of envy, that they are just naturally seeing the good in everyone. And so if we really understand the principle of karma, we have a good chance of helping our mind give up the whole idea of having something belonging to someone else. So due to my actions in previous lives, I have been allotted a certain quota of happiness and distress. And that really isn't going to change in this lifetime. However, the actions that I'm doing now are creating my happiness and distress for the future. So, and similarly, any other person, you know, the good fortune that they're enjoying right now, it's not something that can change. And the distress that they're having is just set. So does that make sense? That there's nothing that we can really, no adjustment we can really make about that. So if we accept that everything belongs to God, to Krishna, then it really solves the entire problem. It's kind of like the original Great Reset, except that the person in charge, the proprietor of everything, is our very best friend and is eternally promising to provide what we lack and preserve what we have. So, you know, how little children, if they're fortunate enough to have parents with that kind of caring attitude, then they're very secure and you know, less needy. So we are in this process of learning that we have that kind of relationship with God, that everything, you know, we are dignified souls who have already been given everything we need. God is like our own personal trainer who's like providing exactly what we need to experience at exactly the right time. It's not, there's really any lack. It may appear that way to us at different times in our lives, but we're actually being, you know, all the difficulties that are coming, we may perceive them as obstacles, but the spiritual warrior begins to see them as opportunities, so that there is no kind of negative experience in life for them. They're just like, whoa, this distress has come up and hallelujah, let me like figure this out. Let me face it head on and try to learn from it. And then happiness also, we get to experience that and practice not to be attached, knowing that those things are gonna ebb and flow. So yeah, so that just accepting God as being the proprietor of everything, the more comfortable we are with that, the better we get along with everyone. And Srila Prabhupada called that the peace formula. He said, in the world, if all different nations, if all different people of all different religions and all different, political views, etc., if they could have one center, agree to have God in the center, Krishna in the center, then there would be no need for conflict. So there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita 9:1. Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most secret wisdom, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So this is a really important thing to know. What a great secret, that our success doesn't come from any material adjustment. It doesn't come from our mental effort or our intellectual ability, or our ability to perform austerities, from like ways of tweaking ritual techniques or anything like that. It comes from lack of envy, from being a friend of God, just accepting God as a friend. So, and then he reveals everything to us in return. So just like Arjuna, we will receive everything that we need. And incidentally, we're relieved of all material miseries. So it's kind of like we just have to do one thing. Isn't it nice to like simplify the whole project of life? So I'll say that again. He promises to reveal everything to us and give total fulfillment if we will just give up envy. So, and I remember the first time I was with a devotees, group of spiritual practitioners, and they said, yeah, here you can learn how to love God. And my first reaction was, well, I don't have a problem with God. God's all right with me. What's the big deal? Let's get on with our life and God's fine. So it took me a while to kind of accept the idea that this is an ongoing thing. It gets better. It can go deeper. It can become more and more refined, and that actually in the spiritual process is very different from material progress. There is no end. It continues to get, that is the difference between matter and spirit. Spirit is not limited. It continues on and on forever, increasing, and that ability to love. So Non-envy means always desiring actually the welfare and advancement of all living entities. So it's shifting from the feeling of exploitation of them for my own pleasure to a consciousness of desiring them to progress and trying to understand how I can assist them even in that process. So in material consciousness, I may feel like I need other people to act the way I want them to. And that's very frustrating because when does that happen, right? It's so gradually we are learning how to focus on fixing myself rather than fixing everyone else. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that for her who constantly meditates upon my presence within all persons, the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, and abusiveness, along with false ego, are very quickly destroyed. So it's giving us the process. It's not just like, figure it out. We actually have a process which is constantly meditating on Krishna, or God, that the super soul is residing within the heart of every living entity. And so by remembering that more and more, any kind of rivalry with those living entities is going to dissolve. So a great way to do that is this process of chanting, meditation on the names of God. And gradually, it helps us to remember to see everyone as carrying God in their heart. So, there's a really beautiful mantra. And you guys have probably heard this. If you've ever, do you listen to Johnny Harrison's music sometimes? Okay. She sang a song called Hari Om. So, and it contains this mantra from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. It's Svasyastu Vishvasya Kala Prasidatang Jayanti Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Manascha Badrang Bhajata Dadhokshaje Aveshatang No Matir Apyahoy Tuki Hari Om, Hari Om. So beautiful. So the meaning is, may there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. So the devotees of Krishna, they like to have a practice. It's kind of an expansion of the practice of saying namaste, right? Recognizing the Lord in the heart, or the light, or the love of the Supreme within the heart of every living entity. So, and they say, Vansha kalpa turubhyascha kripa sindhu vyatevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. That means like a desire tree, a spiritual practitioner, a bhakti yogi can fulfill all the desires of everyone who takes shelter of them. She prays not for herself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. So, so then the gentle people, we can accept as our friends. The envious people, we can avoid if we need to. Or the mischievous, then we can be, indifferent. Or, if someone is seeking help, trying to progress, then we try to give encouragement to those people. She thinks, let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. So like that, our thoughts, when they're aligned with Krishna, with God, they're very, very powerful. Whatever we put our attention on becomes, very, very significant. So we're affecting not just our own minds, but and the minds and hearts of those around us by having these kinds of thoughts and intentions, right? So we can become an angel for other people by, making this a serious sadhana, a serious practice every day. And just by, we don't even have to know how to do it, right? We just have to be willing to set that intention each morning, and then everything will come to us. Whatever we need to do will be revealed to us, all the specifics that come along day to day. And I was thinking how, as spiritual practitioners, we're not actually being asked to be perfect. Sometimes there's a feeling that, maybe I'm not good enough. I just can't do, I'm not up to it. And because sometimes we hear, about high standards of spiritual practices, and so actually, just to acknowledge that God is perfect and to have gratitude for whatever I've already been given to work with, that's enough, right? We don't have to be like, we're not perfect. We're just human. God is perfect. So if we can just acknowledge that, and it kind of, like all kinds of yoga meet us where we're at. So this bhakti yoga process is like that. we can feel, we know that, you know, God is not like judgmental and wanting to punish, or God has unconditional love for us, just wants us to be close. So, you know, and is waiting for us to turn our face back to him. And so there's also in the Yoga Sutras, there's a concept that they mention called Pratipaksha Bhavana, that if we're going down the road and we realize I've taken a wrong turn, or there's some kind of problem, then I can do the opposite to fix that thing. So if we, for instance, come to a point of feeling like I'm having, you know, resentment or envy towards another person, then we can think of some kind of positive affirmation, or even a prayer for that person to help shift things. So let's try just taking a moment to think of something, a person. So this is just a private short meditation. Think of a person that you may have had some kind of negative feelings about. And then see if you can think of a positive statement or a prayer, finding something positive about them or wishing them well in some way. All right. So, and then I want to do some more imagining and visualization. So if you're not sitting really in a very comfortable way right now, go ahead and adjust your seat so that you're kind of really settled on the base of your body and your sitting bones. And sit up nice and tall. And then just close your eyes down. Let your shoulders drop. Feel your legs are heavy and relaxed. And just soften your belly. Feel that your spine and all your bones are just balancing on the earth. Gradually feel your face softening, your eyes sinking deeply back into your head. Let the tongue rest down away from the roof of your mouth. Feel your breath. And now I'd like you to bring to mind hypothetically, imagine that another person has something that you want So it could be a thing or some kind of quality, something about them that you're like, I wish I was like that, or wish I had that. Or, yeah, so it doesn't necessarily need to be some real life experience, but try to imagine this. And then let that desire for that thing gradually become a little more intense. Like, I really need this. And then we're going to imagine that we can just transform that desire into simple admiration for that thing or appreciation of that person, so that we're bringing a more generous mindset rather than a desire to possess ourselves. Okay, good. And then just open your eyes when you're ready. Good. So, in a few minutes, we'll take some time to actually discuss how that went for you, and um, uh, if it wasn't like a real life situation, if it was just an imaginary situation, then it can uh, be something that you practice, um, in different scenarios, and you can practice your real life situation in your own time. So let's think about other kinds of affirmations. And if you can help me, so if you first imagine that it is a thing that you have a desire for, that somebody else possesses, that you want very much. Can you think of a short statement that you could make to yourself that would help you to turn that into something positive? Okay. Anybody willing to suggest something?
I can suggest something if you.
Thanks. Who's speaking?
It's Amy. Can you
Oh.
hear me okay? Okay. Mine is kind of more personal, like not an object. Can you hear me better? Okay. So mine was just that being able to remember and retain information is sometimes, I mean, admittedly kind of an envy, because I wish that I could retain more information.
I totally relate to that.
And recall that when I'm studying things. So turning that into a positive would be that I'm very thankful for others that study with me, that are generous in helping me to remember things that I'm trying to recall, or selfless in helping me in my studies. And so that would be a positive for me.
Very nice. And so, you know, we may also, in that situation, it's a good thing that we're wanting. So you could also, you could also think of a way to affirm that you are able to do that yourself, that you're, you know what I mean? So perhaps that, something in the present tense, that I now have a clear mind and a good memory, and I remember the things I'd like to. Because, when we make affirmations, it works well to think of them in the present tense, and that it's not that they're going to happen someday or I want that, but that it is now like that. And then it bypasses the, logical mind, and convinces the subconscious mind that, yes, that's what I do. This is who I am. Because we are probably used to hearing self-talk that is, I have a terrible memory. I'm not very good. I don't think I can do that very much. They're so good at it. I wish I was like that. I'll never be like that. I should just give up. So when we, replace that talk with an affirmation that this is who I am, this is what I do, then that, can become our reality, because the mind is just matter also. It's subtle, it's the subtle body, and it's become accustomed to these kind of patterns of negativity. So if there's something that's a good positive quality like that we want, then sometimes we can use that by recognizing that I'm kind of envious of somebody who's able to do this. I can't do it. How can they do it? Then we can use that to fulfill something that, is a good desire. So then the next question that I want to ask you, we're about ready to go into a breakout group, right? So do you want to just focus on this first question for a little while first, and then come back to regroup to do the second question? Or how do you do that, Rajarani?
We can do that. I love this first question, and maybe that's an idea as we just break out for 5 or 6 minutes on this first question and come back. Maybe we have time for the second one, maybe we don't. Maybe we can just.
And will you call us back?
I will for sure.
All right. So let's go ahead and discuss it a little bit.
The question here is really about this activity that we just did. And how did it go for you? How did it shift? I think that Gopi just also gave us a great example about how to create an affirmation about it that's really positive for ourselves about what we have today. And so we'll break into, I'll break you into breakout groups automatically. You'll go in. And from time to time, I'll give you a little sort of countdown so you can see how much time you've got left. And it's really about discussing that activity, that meditation that she walked us through, and with each other. Anything else you'd add, Gopi?
Just while you're discussing, know that everybody else is just, they're not judging us. they're like also everybody's trying to understand how to achieve this, and how to, so, please be generous with your suggestions or conversation.
Beautiful. Okay, we've got about, I think I'll give you 8 minutes and you should be breaking off into breakout rooms in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Gopi, would you like to continue the conversation from here? You're on mute, Gopi.
There we go. All right. So, and then we have time for one more question and then we'll discuss everyone together. Is that correct?
I think we may not have time for one more question. Yeah, I don't think we have time. We don't have time to break out into groups. If we're going to ask a question, I think we only have time for a couple of people to respond here.
Well, maybe I'll just tell you another thought is that, to consider that if we are trying to understand how God is the most attractive personality, has all strength, all fame, all beauty, all renunciation, all knowledge, is the creator, the maintainer, the enjoyer of everything in existence, then that's kind of the ultimate test for not having envy. So it's you know, a spiritual practice to, in a similar way, by celebrating the qualities of God, then any tinge of envy, any subtle layers of that stuff will dissolve in that process of chanting God's names or just glorifying the beautiful qualities of that Supreme Person, right? So, so then what is anybody inspired to share with us something that, I know I heard a couple of inspiring things. Is there?
Yes, Sadhana Dasi has raised her hand. You can unmute yourself, Sadhana, and speak.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the lovely dialogue and the sharings. It was most helpful. You know, I also have studied the Yoga Sutras, and the Pratapakshi Bhavana was what the most intense part of it. And I recall it translating to something about free will that we have to navigate ourselves to a better place, right? And I know in practicing it, one of the things is we sometimes just forget that we have that free will. And we don't, it's that level of awareness is so fine to catch yourself and then to have to navigate to a better place, right? I wondered if you had any thoughts about that, on how, you know, how we can evolve our practice better on this.
Yeah, so I mean, that's yoga, right? To just be able to try to notice what's going on with our patterns of thought, and then to, you know, with, you know, when we are practicing also svadhyaya, mentions in the Yoga Sutras that ultimately we want to compare the patterns of our thought to our understanding of like what we learn in the wisdom texts of that saints have written, or that is coming down from God, like the Bhagavad Gita, to study, you know, what is, you know, where am I not able to have unconditional loving opinions or thoughts, or, you know what I mean? So
Excuse me, could you just translate the Sanskrit word svadhyaya, so in case, and you know, for those who don't know the Sanskrit?
svadhyaya is just study of the scriptures, or study of reflection on our own progress, in kind of in comparison to higher understanding that's in revealed scriptures or in wisdom texts, or, you know, does that make sense? Anybody else want to? Becky, can you clarify? She's our Patanjali's Yoga Sutras expert.
Oh, on Pratipaksha Bhavan.
Oh, you were going to tell us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will you ask again what?
First about svadhyaya, the definition of.
Yes, svadhyaya as a practice of self-study, but we really use the scriptures to dive deeper into the awareness of our soul, so that we can develop our relationship with Krishna. And we each have our own proclivity or drawings into the scriptures that support us and help to expand that relationship. Is that?
Thanks. So is that making sense?
Makes a lot of sense. It was beautiful. Thank you. That was really lovely. Yeah, I think that when we're in the material realm, we have so much around us, and then we sometimes forget to look upwards into those scriptures, into our examples. You know, it's really cultivating that all the time, and looking at it very humbly to say there's a better answer beyond me, right? And I need to look for it. Yeah. So thank.
And so, you know, that's another, she mentioned doing it all the time. So if we have like the more regularly we're hearing and practicing connecting with divinity, the more we're going to be able to do that, you know, to mirror what's going on and to adjust our consciousness in a favorable way. So we're getting feedback all the time, right? Every day we're saying, that worked great, or ooh, that didn't feel so good. So what else? Anybody else have a something that came to mind while
Jill has her hand up. Do you want to speak?
Hi. So this studying has got me thinking. You're talking about this. I also study Daf with a Jewish friend, and right now we're reading through the part of the Daf where a rabbi is talking about if someone tells you that they studied hard and learned nothing, don't believe them. And if they say that they found it easy and learned everything, don't believe them. The exception here would be business. Business has, well, we would say Lakshmi's luck. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But this is one of those things where kind of regardless of where you are, you have to put out the effort. If you don't put it out, you don't get anything back. And this is very easy to overlook, that we just want to know everything immediately. Like it's so easy. We need to actually figure out how we manifest this beauty in our lives, in this connection to Krishna. And it's not easy. It's not as simple as this rabbi wanted to make it. Just do your daf and it'll be fine.
So, and that's what a nice life, right? Because that's the meaning of life. It's not just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. It's doing this process of trying to evolve and uncover the pure love that's there in the heart.
We have Manjulali Priya also has her hand raised.
Thanks.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you for making such nice, wonderful points. So today we learned about like how to deal with envy in our hearts, but sometimes we may be put in the group or we are surrounded by people who may be envious of us, and in that situation, how do we deal with that? You know, that atmosphere where somebody else may be envious of us, and we are put in that group, and sometimes you may feel uncomfortable or not so good about it, but somehow we have to work together or get the things done. So in that situation, how do we deal with that? Because we learned about how can we control our feelings, but it's impossible to control others' feelings. But still, we are in that situation. That energy is different, that environment is different. So if you can throw some light on that.
Yeah, really good point. Because it's contagious. If somebody is, it's very difficult to not be reactive. If someone is, for instance, angry at us or acting, like letting us know that they have negative feelings. And so then our practice is to somehow or other remain centered and to respond to them in a kind way without being reactive in kind to their negativity or in unkind to their negativity. So that is quite challenging, but if we can remember that it's maybe this is not about me, but it's true that they are experiencing these kinds of feelings, and I can honor that they are having those feelings. At the same time, not take it on myself, not accept that it's, I am the person they imagine me to be, for instance. And of course, we can meditate on that and say, why, in our own time, think, well, why is it that they may be acting that way? Is, we can self-reflect and try to understand, is there any way that I can, that I was causing pain to them, or but generally it's that they are projecting their consciousness on other people. And if we can maintain a centered, positive, non-judgmental, loving attitude toward them, think thoughts of blessing them, and try to pacify them, maybe even humor them. By, there's in the nonviolent communication techniques, they recommend ways of reflective listening, where instead of reacting by saying, oh, I didn't say that, or I didn't do that, that we practice saying, oh, I hear that, you're really upset about this. Do you want to tell me more why, or is there anything anybody else have an experience like this where you were in a challenging kind of somebody was
Radhika, do you want to speak? Go ahead.
Radhe. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else before you posed your question. So it is, trying to keep that spaciousness, I guess, when you are feeling that somebody is putting that kind of energy towards you, and to try to just stay that calm and that balanced and not having envy in response, to feel like there is something lacking in you. If somebody is bringing that kind of energy at you, your natural reaction is to react. And when you start to do that, then you are expressing your own lack, because you feel like you have to defend yourself or what have you. And so that kind of leads me to kind of what my original thought was when I raised my hand, was that this envy is a part of lacking on ourselves, And does that then that lacking, that incompleteness, is it a reflection of our lack of faith? That we aren't trusting Krishna to complete us. That, can you speak on that a little bit?
We're lacking trust that, yeah. So, yeah, I just feel like I have a friend who's very good at when somebody comes at them with negativity, they're very good at saying, oh, you think that I'm doing this, or I hear you saying that you're upset about this thing. That must feel very uncomfortable for you. It's like giving them some understanding for where they're at, and kind of offering, kind of agreeing to them, but not agreeing that it's your fault. And yeah, that that's happened to me a couple times, that somebody suddenly said, you think this, or you thought that about me, you're judging me. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I was judging you, but you can't just like say it's not true, because they're having, if there's a way you can validate their feelings without taking, saying that that you did have ill intentions, something like that. Anybody else want to suggest something? This might have.
Manji, go ahead. Manji Gopi.
Oh, Hare Krishna, my obeisances, pranams. I'm very happy to be with you. This is my first time here, and I'm very happy. I'm from Europe joining, and yes, it's very nice to be with you. So regarding this topic, this is very important topic for everyone's life, I do believe. So I remember one very nice example come to my mind. So the envy can be directed from the outside and from the inside. So like we can be envy to someone, and someone could be also envy toward us, express their envy. So this very nice example with Buddha. Buddha was walking through the street, and some envy man, he was yelling at him and telling him, oh, you cheater, you are misleading people, you are misguiding, you are complete cheater, and I don't trust you. And he was yelling and telling him so many offensive words, but Buddha didn't mind. He was just keep walking. And all of a sudden he stopped. And then this guy, he asked him, why are you just indifferent? You are not reacting. Why are you like that? So Buddha just turned toward him and he told him, if I have some gift, small gift for you, and if I'm giving it to you and you reject to take, to whom that stays? So this guy said, okay, so that means, yes, I don't want to accept your anger, your envy. So that stays with you because I don't want to accept it. And then this person, he learned his lecture and he realized, okay, you are a teacher and you teach me a great lecture, so I will obey to you. Yes, you are not a cheater, something like that. So that's a really nice, inspiring example. And I'm also just thinking, when we are envy, when this envy is like coming from us, so what is the role of introspection? How introspection can help us to overcome and transform this envy?
Well, we are, in the process of observing our patterns of thought, And when there's some, negative thing, it's a kind of resentment, this envy. And they say that resentment is exactly like holding red hot coals in your hand, thinking, I'm gonna throw this at that person and then they'll regret what they've done to me or what they said, or that they think they're so great or whatever it is. But, it's actually hurting ourselves. That red hot coal is hurting me. So, by realizing that this is something that I can let go of. There are so many kinds of people in the world around me, and I can choose to let go of that negativity if I want to, but it's up to me. Nobody else is going to do it for me. They may not be willing to change, or they may have already changed. We may have been thinking of them for 10 years with this envy in our heart, and they've already, moved on. They may be a saint by now, but we're still thinking, So it's up to me to give myself permission to change. So I need to be observing if there are thoughts that keep coming over and over about this person or a negative type of thinking like this, then it's so helpful for us to be able to, have a time to be centered, to meditate, and to try to find the most loving understanding that we can within our hearts, so that we can heal. Because, just like I mentioned in the yoga asanas, we're looking for places where there's resistance. So it's kind of like that with our mind. We're resisting to change, or we're holding on to some, negative pattern. But by shining a light on it, by introspection, shining a light on that quality or that, pattern of negative thinking, I can dissolve it. I can choose to let it go. And the other thing that's very important is it's hard sometimes to make a change by ourselves. And we're so fortunate that we're spiritual practitioners. We can just ask for help. For instance, if Lord Nrsingadev is the very ferocious incarnation of Lord Krishna, who with his claws, rips apart the demon Hiranyakashipu. So if there is, we can pray to this ferocious aspect of the Supreme Lord to take away the bad qualities or the negativity in our minds, or just ask for help. Hey, I can't do this. I'm stuck. Help! And magic will happen. So nice.
Thank you. We're getting close to time. Amanda had her hand raised, and then Himanji again. So Amanda, do you want to speak for a moment?
Sure, I'll be quick. So it seems that envy is at its root, when we start breaking it down, a form of comparison. This to that, mine to hers, his to his. And when we look at it in form of comparison, that in and of itself is a dualistic thought process. This, but not that. Yes, but no. And when we understand it in terms of dualism, we can pull up from that view and we can look at it a little bit more cleanly, and in a basic, very simple way of remembering that comparison is a thief of joy. And when we implement comparisons of ourselves and others, it steals this joy. It misdirects us from our divine relationship with Krishna. Thank you.
Amanji, do you have one more moment, and then we'll close with announcements?
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's also, I will be very quick, because this very nice example you mentioned with Lord Nrsimhadev, how we need to pray to him. I heard recently a very nice anecdote about that, how Lord Nrsimhadev, and he took Hiranyakashipu on his lap and then penetrate with his nail into his heart to pull out all the envy, all greed, all false pride, everything. Only that then Hiranyakashipu was able to see the true face of the Lord, loving, kind, caring, because that's we all looking for. Actually, we are love seekers. We are seeking for love, and then because of all of this in our heart, there is no possibility for us to see that, to find it. So Lord Nrsimhadev kindly rip apart all of these things so that we can feel this love and yes, be connected, loved, protected, safe, cared, and everything. So thank you for reminding us on that amazing prayers and example.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gopi, for such practical ways, I think, of approaching something that we are all engaging with in some way. And I think have, after this, more tools. Amanda, your last comment about sort of pulling up, also really, I think for me, quite helpful. This concept about how karma relates to all of this. If I can accept that I have the amount of the positives and the negatives, or successes and fails, or whatever, however I think of it, that I have my quota, and I can't get someone else's quota. And this is not an easy thing, I think, to really come to terms with, really come, like, my head understands it, but to really come to terms with it. But it's at the heart of this sort of wanting what other people have, and being able to positively see what I actually do have, and to rethink how I think about what it is that I do have, so that I can be more accepting of what is actually already in me, and using these positive validations. So thank you very, very much. I'm good. This is going to be one of those classes I got to go back to and sort of listen to a couple of different times, because I think it feels so key to this human condition that we are in. So we're at about time, and a couple
I
of
just thank Gopi. I would just love to thank Gopi. Gopi, so glad you're here, and so many jewels, so many treasures that I've written down. You know, I couldn't really even stop. You know, becoming a dignified soul, and you know, I'm only human. I'm so full of mistakes, but the perfect person is my dearmost friend, and I could just go on and on. So many treasures you've shared, and I'm so grateful to you. And I hope that you and your wonderful community of Devis will join us again very soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have posted in the chat a link to join our WhatsApp announcement group. We now have two groups, one that's announcements only, and one that's kind of the back and forth and everyone talking, where the announcement sometimes gets lost. This is the link to the announcements only group. And if you join that group and send me a private message, I'm Brajarani, and you want to join the other group, we can add you to that one as well. Our next discussion, we're actually, I'm not sure we have finalized the date in January. I think it's Mandakini Prabhu.
January 30th is what she told me. So
okay, so
there's
January,
a change. We'll get back with everyone. But please write down January 30th, Sunday.
So hold the date, same time, January 30th. Mandakini Devi Dasi will be joining us. She's joined us in the past, and it's beautiful, always a beautiful conversation with her. We will post this within the next 24 to 48 hours in both groups, so you can also listen to it again and glean the nuggets from this beautiful conversation. Thank you all for participating. And I will see you all next month. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
devotees. Jai Krishna. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Thank you all so much for being here. Love to all of you. Gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gopi.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Thank you, Brajarani. Isn't she beautiful?
Completely beautiful. Next month, everyone.